What is going on, YouTube? Zero Lead here, back again with a new video of the U.S.S. Enterprise A refit mock tutorial part 3. I know it's been a couple of years since I had the series going, but I've had people recently asking me if I was going to ever finish this, so I just decided this afternoon to go ahead and jump on and finish the ship. So I'm going to be showing you guys how to do a couple of things on here today. We're going to be kind of going a long one, about 58 minutes. And also just want to thank everybody for tuning into today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me in supporting the channel. I definitely appreciate that. And right now you can see that really just picking up right where we left off from episode 2 of the refit mock tutorial. Now, what I'm going to be showing you guys today is how to close in your upper hull on the saucer. We'll work in the bridge. We'll get the curve down here in the bottom and then the hull lines. But then we're also going to change the texture of the ship. And that's something I want to touch on, that depending on how you build, well, not necessarily how you build it, but depending on what you use to build your ship, can totally make it or break it. Right now it doesn't look bad, but I'm going to show you guys how we can bring this thing over the top by just swapping out the blocks that we have been using for the white concrete. Or actually, I think we use the white quartz. Excuse me. We're going to be swapping this out for white quartz, and just that differentiation between the two and a few other details we're going to be adding is going to make a world of difference. So let's go ahead and just jump right into it. I've been rambling on a little bit too long in the beginning part of this tutorial, but that's okay. We've got a good base to go off of here, and anybody that is having problems building a full-scale enterprise, I definitely recommend starting off with something a little bit smaller on this size. This is a great starter build for you if you are new to building these ships. And right now I'm just going to make a gray line going around our bridge area, basically just to get an indicator on where a bridge is going to go. These blocks here in the middle, we can get rid of those. We don't need them anymore. But again, if you're new to shipbuilding, this is a great starter. Sometimes building a larger scale ship can be a daunting task, especially for beginners. So this is one of the reasons why I have this tutorial available, so that you guys can get on and jump into it on something that's a little bit more manageable and something that you can do in a much shorter period of time, and try to develop your shipbuilding skills before you move on to a larger scale ship. So you can see here I'm just clearing out the access. Underneath where our line used to be for our bridge, we have our new gray indicator, and we're going to be using that in a moment to flesh out the actual shape of our bridge. And another blue line on that side, and then we'll do 2 more. And that's really that's kind of the shape of how the bridge is. There's not really that much more that we can do with it for this size. I mean, we could make it bigger, but for the purpose of the scale, we're not going to be able to go any bigger than that, than what we're currently at right now. So we're just going to swap that out to the gray. All right, and then we're going to get rid of this axis here and replace this line. Perfect. All right, so now we have our bridge outline. And we're going to add a layer of half slabs going all the way around. And we'll use the half slabs to develop the shape of that our bridge is going to be. And like I said, this isn't going to be too big. It's not going to be too detailed, but we'll be able to get a couple of details and to get the point across on what it is. Way more so than what we had just a few moments ago. And I was actually pretty happy with how this turned out, considering the scale of it. I was able to get a lot out of the ship. What you see in the screenshot is what, you know, the finished product actually looks like. So you can see I'm just going along with the cut, just added another layer in, also deleting the access. So I see where my gray line, or if I put a gray block down, basically eventually I'm going to replace this half slab with a dark gray one, but we're not going to do that just yet. I think right now we're just going to focus on um, finishing up the hull and closing that in for the saucer and the bridge. And again, just going along with the cut and shape that I currently have. I'm going to bring this line back one. I don't think I did it right here, but I forgot to add a block underneath that middle one, so there's a tiny bit of a gap right there. We'll have to close that in, and then we also have to put in a block up top too. Now we're going to go ahead and fill in our upper hull. You can see I've switched to regular quartz, and we're just going to fill this whole thing in, and then we're going to come back and get some hull line work in, and then we're going to change the color of our current hull line to a lighter gray. But you know, I definitely, again, I wanted to get this video out because this will be a great starter for you. Because I wish when I was doing first started doing starships on here, I really wish that I would have started with a smaller scale ship. Um, that would have saved me a lot of time from not only trial and error, but if I made a mistake or if I wanted to experiment, it wouldn't take such a long period of time to do it. Doing something on a much smaller scale like this, it gives you the chance to experiment within a much shorter period of time. And it's not even necessarily a bad idea if you're getting ready to prep out for a new build. If you want to build out a mock version of it first, that's actually not a bad idea. So you can definitely do that also. You can see here we're rocking and rolling, just getting the rest of this upper hull closed in. But by the end of today's episode, we will have this bad boy completed. And after we finish this side, we'll just have one more panel section to close in. And as I'm doing this tutorial, for whatever reason, if I'm not getting specific enough on something, or if you have a question, or if you get stuck, drop a comment below. Usually pretty responsive in the comment section, and try to see what I can do to help you out. Or if there's any builds that you guys want to see me do, drop a comment below. I usually go off of popular demand on what people want, but at the same time, you never know if I'm really feeling the build idea. I might just go ahead and do it. Because I'm definitely looking for new ideas on stuff that you guys might want to see me build. And yeah, getting back into what I got going on here, you can see we're rocking and rolling. We're on our last panel, or almost. We've got a little bit more to do on the other side, it looks like, but we're almost done as far as closing this thing in. Once we close this in, we're not going to have too much structural change that we're going to make to our current design. I think at this point, mostly going to work with what we have, and we'll fill in the areas that have not been completed. But I'm also, like I said, we're going to be completely changing the color of this thing, and essentially, kind of completely changing the look of it. It's going to look like a whole new ship by the time it's done. I guarantee it. All right, we got one more line to do. We're rocking. And now we're going to start building out our impulse engines. So I have a gap there in the middle. I'm going to go over to the cut. I'm going to stop. I'm going to go in, do one more, and stop. We're not going to go any longer than that. So again, we got to worry about scale. Then we're going to go down at an angle, same thing here. And then we're going to build in, the same thing on this side, and then one more block. Now these middle blocks inside, we're just going to take out one row. Take that out, replace that with a white quartz. And the same thing on that last one. So this way we should have a nice little cut inside. And then we're going to go back in, and then we'll add in a red strip to give the impression that it's a nice impulse engine. We're not going to be able to really get that much more detail out of it other than that, but nonetheless, it's still way more than what we had before, and it's been a nice little introduction to doing stuff like this. So you can see I'm following along with the cut line. Now we're going to do the same thing on the right side. Probably take away that one down. There we go. See, that looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. It's going to be one of the many subtle changes that we're going to make today. All right, now we're going to redo the shuttle bay a little bit, and we're just going to add a gray line, basically highlighting the outline of the shuttle bay, because we want it to pop out a little bit more, because right now it's bled in with the rest of the ship, and we're not really taking that into account. We're going to have to rebuild the back end of it a little bit, but I'll show you guys how to do that. We're going to place the backbone here also with a black, or excuse me, not a black, but a gray concrete. Get some definition. All right. And we need a red stripe. So that's 11 long. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. We're going to skip one in the front, and then we'll go 11 back. This is just, actually we'll bring away in the front. Now, one of my tips that I always tell people when they're building a ship, when you're building this ship, technically, you only have to build half of it one time. Because if you're looking at the front of your Enterprise, you're only building half the ship, and you repeat that process again on the other side. So this is a rule of thumb while we're doing this. I should have mentioned this a little bit earlier, but that's okay. But if you do one thing on one side, do it on the other side. The reason for this is because this is going to help you save yourself from making mistakes as you're going, as opposed to rushing to get one side done and then going into the other side and hoping that you can remember the exact pattern that you just did. It's also a little bit fresher in your head when you do it that way. Definitely like that red line there on the side. The ship definitely needed some color. We're going to add in our torpedo bay, the half slabs. I'm just going along with the outline that we have for our neck in the front. I just cut out the middle one, replace that with a dark gray block. And that's really about all we can do with it. Replace that with the... Right, but we're going to be replacing all these blocks. All the white ones, we'll be replacing that with the white quartz. That looks pretty good. We're definitely getting there. We'll close off the top of the bridge with the blue concrete. And now the front, remember I said we're going to add a black strip, simulate the window. And we'll go one at an angle, the same thing on the left, and call it a day on the detail. Because there's not really much more we can get out of it other than that. We can also do a gray line going around the bridge again. In fact, we'll do that along with the cut. This gray line is going to help make the bridge pop out a little bit more. All right. And we need to do our backbone going along the back for saucer. There's like two little panels on the top we got to build towards the back that's like right above the impulse engines. Because we're kind of going off of the Star Trek Beyond Enterprise, just on a much smaller scale. So that's our loose design at this point. Now you can see I'm starting from the middle. I'm trying to determine where our hull lines are going to go, and I'm going at an angle, and this is how you determine that. You're not sure. This blue line here is a dead center of our circle. As long as you build your blocks out going at a exact angle where they're lining up like that, you should be able to turn. Let's do it on this corner, here, here, here. Bam. All right, so now we got our hull lines on the top side. So let's cut those out. Go all the way back to the front of this saucer. I deleted a couple extra ones. Let's fix that. I deleted one that I shouldn't have. Don't have to worry about being a different color. We're actually going to replace that whole entire old band with the color that we highlighted the bridge with. That lighter gray, the light gray. All right, so we're going to bang this out. We got a couple more sides to do. I think one more on the top side. But see, just making this subtle change, I mean, it's already making the ship come to life so much more than what it was before. You could stop here and call it a day, but we're not. We still have quite a bit to do in this episode. Still have about 42 minutes left. Like I said, by the end of episode 3, we will be done with the mock tutorial series. I wanted to make sure I completed this for you guys, so this way anybody else in the future that has any issues building a full-scale enterprise, that they have something that they can refer to that's a little bit easier to manage, because this was just something else that I wish that I had when I was starting out. So the people that asked for it, I hope that you enjoy it, because I'm making this for you guys. All right, you can see now I'm just replacing our old existing hull line. This way it matches the rest of the additions that we've added. Got to replace that block right there. We'll come back to that. The same thing right there in the front. We'll have to fix that right there. This has actually been pretty fun doing this. I've been excited to release this episode because my large-scale tutorial series that I'm doing for the Disco Enterprise has been a multi-part series. And what I'm showcasing now is all of that basically in one episode. Now you can say I want to hop in back here what I have going on here. I'm at one of the hull line cuts we're adding our detailing in on the front side, or excuse me, go along the side of our saucer. I'm not sure if these would be considered um, shield emitters or pulp or airlocks. I'm not exactly sure. I just know that they're there. So we're going to put them there. We're going to place the one in the middle, then we'll delete our guideline. Perfect. Now we have a couple more to do. Again, going along with the hull line, have our guideline one on each side, and then bottom side, and then the middle in yellow. And delete the old one, or the guideline, I should say. I technically didn't need to put that down, but I did that for you guys. I would say, if you're not sure where to do it, put the guideline one down. But if you don't need to, you can skip it. You see, just adding that extra bit of detail right there, it's going to make the ship pop. But now, one of the problems is that the ring going along the outside of our saucer doesn't look right. We're going to have to change the color of that. And we also have to add in the hull on the lower side, and then we have to fix the curve. I think at this point in the video, I was thinking about doing it, but if I did and I added in the full block, I'm going to have to basically increase the size. And I think I actually go back and delete it because I changed my mind. But then as I was going, I decided, you know what, we're going to go all out, and both the top and bottom are going to have the hull lines. So if you want, you can leave this line here, but I think I'm going to delete this in just a second. But we will circle back to this in a little bit, and we're going to continue on with this. So if you want to, you can just ignore what I'm doing as far as deleting this and putting it back, so this way you don't have to backtrack with me. You can kind of get an idea of the texturing difference, what our ship is going to look like using the quartz as opposed to what we had before. I'm building this line off, I believe, the first or second line of the of our curved hull lines. You'll see when I complete it, but I'm basically making a guideline so I can do our registration numbers. We don't have enough room here to write out Enterprise on this, not on this ship, but we can at least write out the registration numbers. So we'll do that for sure. So I'm going to bring this all the way over. You can see it's meeting up on the first one. Just so I can get an indicator of where the registration numbers are going to go. You can see I'm building above my blocks. If you want to go in, you can. But I do this anytime I'm testing stuff out. Just in case I don't like what I put down. Just in case it looks bad. So this way I don't have to delete or do even more work. And look at that, we just got enough room here. We got 1701. And that 1C is one too long, but that's okay. I didn't catch it at this point in the video, and I thought about going back to edit it, but we were already at 58 minutes, so I was like, for the mock tutorial, we don't necessarily need to worry about that. This is just kind of like a beginner enterprise. It doesn't have to be perfect, so we're not going to go for perfection. All right, so I have a good idea of what that's going to look like. That looks pretty decent. We can go ahead and add that in. So now I'm just going to deleting the hull underneath, and then we'll replace that with the same dark gray. And I know that this should be going at a curve, but again, we don't really have the room to do it on this scale enterprise, so we're just going to make it straight. We're going to cheat. Really, the important thing is that it's there. All right, now we're on our last two numbers. We'll make this 0 solid so it doesn't look so much like a plus symbol. That looks pretty good. Old NCC 1701 is starting to come together. We're definitely rocking. We're already at 24 minutes in. We still have about 34 minutes left in these struts I was saying that we have to make that are just above the impulse engines. We're going to build those now. So I'm just going along with the cut here on each side. In other words, the current pattern that we have, I'm going with that as I build. I'm not continuing out too far because this piece is not very big. So after the first cut, we went up and out one, and then we repeated the same thing on the other side like we had on this. And then we're going to take out what we have underneath and replace that with a dark gray to give some definition. And then we're going to put a half slab right there in the middle too. And there you go. We have our upper hull detailing. We'll need to add a light gray strip on each side to bring that out just a little bit more with the hull lines, but it's looking really good. Like I was saying, we need to rework our shuttle bay. Not happy with how that came out. I was actually never happy on it, but I never really figured out a way to fix it. But you know, what I came up with for the tutorial, I think it works. It's not perfect, but you know, we don't have a lot of room to work with here. We have just enough room that we can go inside the ship. So if you really want to, you can definitely build something in here. You want to be careful. We're at the inside our saucer now, leading this gray line. Don't want to make sure that we're deleting our hull lines. I'm just deleting the access because we added in another row. So you already went out too far. So I want to be careful of that. See, if you go with a cut there, you're not going to make any mistakes. So it goes with the pattern. That looks pretty good. We have like little half slabs in here. You've already got like a starter area for your bridge. And decent. All right, now we're going to go back to the outside. We're not going to do the inside. I think I'll leave that for you guys to do for the mock. But you have a lot of reference material to go off of on my channel. I've done interiors for the 2009 Enterprise, the Star Trek Beyond Enterprise, and currently the Disco Enterprise. So definitely check those out for how some stuff you might be able to add, but you're not really going to be able to add too much in here. That's the thing. We're kind of limited on the space that we have to work with here, but the primary focus of this is really just to get the hang of building the ship. Yeah, you can see that we really don't have a lot of room to work with. Just enough to add a hallway, really. You can see we are cruising along here. I went 3 back on pylons, and we're going to add a gray strip going all the way down. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Then we're going to fill that in with a dark gray. Not going all the way up, stopping one shy before building up into the actual engine. But definitely adds in, those details that the ship has and the struts that are holding the engines. We're looking good. Kind of cruising along here, trying to figure out what I want to change next. I'm going to hop over in the next part of our build. I think we're going to work on the shuttle bay. So I went in one and out on the next row. We're going to get rid of this half slab lip. We're going to replace that with a full block of quartz. Because remember, we're going to be swapping out all of the white hull with this quartz. Because it will make the ship look even better than it currently looks right now. Because it doesn't look bad before, but it could look great, which is what we're going for. So now we're going to add a lip, going with the cut on the underside, so we can give our ship a little bit more definition around the shuttle bay. I always thought that the shuttle bay on this mock Enterprise was always very weak. So when I made the decision to do this video today, I decided that this was definitely going to be one of my focuses. Now everything in between that line, we're going to fill that in. We're going to do that strip as well. Eventually, we're going to have to swap out the whole hull line as well. We'll add another taper line, type as we can go along here, just to try to blend it in just a little bit more than what it currently is. Because we don't have much to work with, but that's definitely better than what we had before. We're going to have to fix this part here. This doesn't look right. We're going to have to add a block here and on the other side. Now what we can do here is add a row of half slabs. Or actually, you can do full blocks. That looks good too. I don't know why I deleted that just to place it back down. It's all good. Put that looks pretty good as far as the underside goes. And the back end of the ship, the shuttle bay, that's coming out pretty good. We're gonna have to take out that lip there, that extra gray line in the back. We're gonna have to move that line down because it doesn't have a lip coming that high up. Let's see, just that gray line right there, it really brings out the overall shape of the shuttle bay. I'm sorry, at this point my controller died and I scrambled to find another battery, and then the other chargeable battery that I plugged in, turns out that one was dead too, and I had to scramble to find my third one, and luckily that one had a full charge. So this is a reminder to myself to always charge up my batteries before I start to record a video. So I'm sorry about that. But we have an extra moment now to look at the back end of our ship. She's looking pretty good. Like I said, with that detailing that we added for our shuttle bay, definitely a lot stronger than what it had before. The half slabs made it look way too flimsy, if you ask me. I'm trying to see here if I'm going to change the shape of this, and I think I add in a couple of blocks here, but I decide that I'm not trying to reshape the wheel or re-engineer the wheel, so we're not going to be drastically changing the design of the ship. Like I said, I throw this down, but ultimately I don't like how it looks, and it looks better without those blocks that I just added, so we're going to take that off. That's what that is, block of iron. I forgot that off the top of my head. I'm sorry about that, but that's what we had used previously on the design of this ship. We had used iron, but so I'm saying that it can totally make it or break it depending on what you use. Yeah, see how that line looks there? That's a definitely helps to bring out that area. And then up here in our saucer, you know, the bridge, our ship is really starting to come together now. We have to bring out the hull lines on the backbone of our saucer. That looks good, and let's get the other side. Want to add in 3 blocks here, and then on the left to complete the hull line. All right, we're jamming. And see, just those subtle changes right there really help to bring out the ship. It looks so much better than how it did before we started, and we still have more to do. We're going to be giving a little bit of love here to the engines, and then also our deflector dish too. So now I'm going to switch over to the next part. So I want to stop here as I did that really quick. So I want you guys, I didn't do this on camera because I didn't want to inflate the video by another 20 minutes. So those iron blocks, every single iron block on your ship, go ahead and swap them out with the white quartz. I think it's just called quartz, in fact. So every single block on your ship that you currently have that's iron, you're going to want to swap that out. And I know you're saying, man, trust me, I feel you. I did it off camera. It took me about 22 minutes to complete the whole thing. Wasn't too bad, but just making that subtle change right there. I mean, you're going to have to rewind the video to back to a few minutes ago, or in the beginning we're at a similar angle, to really see the change that the ship just took just by changing what type of material the ship was made out of. And then we also did the same light gray line on both the top and bottom row of our saucer. We swapped that out. Now, when you add in your rows of your gray lines in the top and bottom lip of your saucer, make sure that you're not deleting your shield emitters or hull ports. Got the 2 red blocks here. Make sure that those remain intact. All right. So whenever you're ready to proceed, you can go ahead and start in again with the video, but I'm going to go ahead and continue on
But man, this thing looks great. Just making those changes. I mean, this ship really looks pretty decent. You can see I'm going with a cut here. I'm going to add in a couple of lines. I want to just add in, bring out a couple more details in our engines here. We don't have a lot of room to work with, but we can add a couple of lines here and there to bring it out just a little bit more than it currently is. And I made a mistake here. I should have started from the top because I would have been able to go off of this cut. And I'm going to get rid of the bottom row, so this is only going to be 2 going at an angle. We're going to get rid of the third one on this side also. It looks a little bit better with 2. Now we're going to do the same thing over here. That's another way you can do it too. Just go ahead and delete on the other side because you can see it through the hole. Save yourself just a little bit of time considering that we're working on such a small scale ship. We're not done just yet. Still have a little bit more detail, I think, that we can bring out in our engines before we move on from them. But man, just adding that cut right there, I mean, that those lines right there, it really brings out the engines a little bit more, I think. I'm trying to think of what detail I can add here on the side. And I was thinking that maybe I can add another layer, which is what worked on my large scale Enterprise A. But for the mock, I don't know. When I added this extra layer and I zoomed out, it just looked like crap. So I just decided to delete it. And then the detailing that we're going to add in is actually going to be going along inside of it here. So we're just going to be shaving off some blocks here or there. So I'm going 1 back, I'm going to put a block, then up 1 and back, got a block. We're going to do the same thing, down 1 and back, add a block. Now we're going to start shaving away on the bottom row. We're going to bring this all the way to the second cut and then stop. So it's first cut, brought to the second cut, and then we stopped. Just go up here to this line now. Now we're going to repeat the same process again. Now this middle one here, bring that all the way back. And it's not much, and it's kind of faint, but I actually think that looks great. It really, I think it brings out the engines a little bit more, and it stays true to the design that I came up with for the Enterprise A, because that was the one deviation that I took from the design because I just didn't agree with how the engines looked. All right, so now spaying out this upper row, doing the same thing that we just did for the bottom row. And now we're going to bring this line all the way back to the one in the middle. Perfect. Now we've got to do this 2 more times. Remember, in the middle, going back 1, up 1 and back, down 1 and back. Perfect. Bring that all the way back to the second cut. We have our middle line, so know where that's going to stop. If you think that you can do that the same way that I'm doing it now, so I switched it up, go for it. If you don't feel that you can do it that way without making a mistake, do it the same way that we did it before. I've found that sometimes staying consistent will definitely stop you from making a mistake too. When we're at that middle line, bring that all the way back, and then we just got to do the top. Yeah, see, I mean, just look at these. I mean, few changes that we've made here. I mean, she's looking good. We need to add in something on the neck here though. It's not it's too plain. It took me like 1 or 2 attempts to get it right. Ignore this first cuts that I'm making out right now because I don't like it. It doesn't look good. But sometimes that's just how it is when you're doing shipbuilding. You just got to throw something down and see how it looks. What I'm ultimately going to do is go along with the pattern of the top of the neck. We're just skipping one, so this way there will be a row of white in between our gray. It's going along with the pattern of the gray. See, it looks pretty good. Just brings out a little bit more definition in the neck, but there's not much more that we can do outside of that because we just don't have the room to work with here. Again, I'm going with the pattern. And I actually, right after this, I caught a mistake because I just now noticed that what I have on my left side is not matching my right side. And this is a great way to catch your mistakes. This is why I encourage, if you do one thing on one side, do it on the other, because it's going to help you to catch a mistake like what we're doing right now. So we're going to fix that. So our top 2 rows on the left, we just went, or excuse me, top 3 rows, we just went at an angle 1 instead of having another row of 2. So we're going to have to fix that. So I need to add another gray one right there, and then gray there, and then get rid of that one. Perfect. Now we're looking good. Now we're rocking. I need a half slab right there. And right up in there. Do that on the other side. This way it blends in the neck just a little bit better than what it was. And our mock Enterprise is she's starting to look good. Still have a couple of things to do before we're going to wrap up this episode. I've got to fix those gray blocks I left over from before. Add another block there and there. That looks a little bit fuller, I think, maybe. You know, I'm going to take those out and we can replace those with half slabs. I think that'll look better. There we go. So there's just a little bit more of a gap between the top part here and our torpedo launcher. We got about 12 minutes left. Still have plenty of time to do what we need to do. We have to add in our hull lines for a lower saucer. We have to add in the curve, and then we've got to redo our deflector dish. So we're going to do that first. We're going to add the blue and then the dark blue. This current blue line, we're going to replace that with the regular blue that I'm currently holding. This is blue concrete. This is just too dark. So I kind of peeked over at my other Enterprise to see what I had there, which is a blue ring followed by a darker blue ring. Is what that's going to do, is going to help make it look kind of like the dish is glowing. and this is when my second battery died. So I'm sorry about that, guys. So it should just take a moment, and I'll pop that in and we'll start rolling again. So we're going to replace the right side now. All right, we've got one more block to do. Now this layer of white on the inside, we're going to replace that with the dark blue, which is actually just blue concrete. Yeah, I think what we had on the outside, that's the lighter blue, or cyan. I think that's the lighter blue. And see, that's really all that we can do there. There's not much that we can do about the lights there in the middle. But I think that change, I mean, that looks pretty good. That looks better than what we had before. And it looks a little bit closer to her larger sister counterpart. You can see just by making these subtle changes here and there, piece by piece, this is where your ship comes to life, and this is what separates the men or the men from the boys, or the girls from the women, or other, because just those details will really help bring out your ship and bring out the qualities of your ship. So you can see how we have our hull lines on the upper side of our hull. Just matching my gray, make sure it's the same, and we're going to repeat this process on the lower side now. And you can see that there's like a gap here. Don't worry about that, because anything on the inside going in to the inner side of the saucer, we're going to fill that in with another layer of half slabs. So this way, it's still flat and it doesn't look weird with just this weird gray ring here. I had considered leaving it like that, but when I zoomed out and actually looked at it, it looked terrible. So I was like, no, we got to layer that out a little bit. Now we are kind of doing this backwards. I do always suggest this is usually one of the first things that we should do when we're doing our saucer. I always say when you're doing your pixel circle generator, you might as well get it over with. You're doing your outer ring, just do all the rings. This way you can do your top and bottom at the same time and knock out two birds with one stone. So we're kind of doing it the hard way, but that's okay. It's a smaller scale ship and we can make it work. But if you guys are watching this, after you feel more comfortable of doing these builds, and you want to build a bigger Enterprise, check out my Disco Era Enterprise tutorial. It's a lengthy video series, but I tell you what, if you are looking for a video series with detailed information on building just about everything you can imagine that you want to build for your Enterprise, this is going to be the tutorial for you. And I do things a little bit differently than what I had for this. I'm kind of just working off of what I had originally, so I'm kind of restricted in that sense. But again, when you're doing this, when you're first plotting out your saucer, these rings are the first things that you want to do. Because with us doing this on the bottom, we're literally placing it in the same exact spot it is on the top. So you might as well do that before you fill in your hull lines. But that's okay. And extra one there, let's fix that. Because as you can see, it's kind of a pain in the butt building when you're looking up. It's my least favorite thing to do in Minecraft, hands down. You can see here, obviously I have nothing to go off of with the pattern on what we can see up top. I'm literally going off of my cut here along the line of our saucer, which is exactly what we have up top. So that's why I'm doing that. And we got one more and we're done. Now we just have to do our straightaway lines and our angled ones. Our straightaway ones are going to be easy. Our angled ones, we got to place a couple blocks down to figure out where those are going to go, but it's not hard to do. It's pretty easy. We already did this process on the top. We're just literally repeating the same process, but for the underside now. We got a couple more sides to do. Let's bang this out. Got about 5 minutes left in the episode. This episode has flown by. All right, got one more to do. If you're not sure where your middle is of your saucer, zoom down and look up. Our block right here, this sea lantern, that's our very dead center. You can see how I'm going at an angle. This is how I'm determining where angled hull lines are going to go. Very easy to do. So you have something like that. Or not something like that, you should have that. And we don't need to continue this line going all the way down. We don't need to make more work for ourselves. We're just going to take out the blocks now that we need to remove, and then we'll replace that with our gray block. All right. Now we're going to bring this all the way back, and then we'll fill this in. We got 2 more sides to do, almost done. Only got 2 things left to do. Well, 1 thing left to do after this now. We have to do our curve now for lower saucer, and I think we'll be done after that. We also have to fill in this intersection here, but I'm going to do that off camera. But wait to do that until after we get down our hull lines. So we have 2 things that we have to do right before we do that. So let's bring our last hull line at an angle going all the way back and fill that in. All right, we are looking good. Now, along this white block, circle block down here in the very center, along the lip of it, you're going to add a row of gray blocks. I believe I did that off camera. And then go ahead and take this time to fill in everything inside the lip that we just added. You're going to add 1 row of half slabs. So now, once we go to our next curve that we just added, it'll be completely flat until we get to our center. You can see that it's completely flat here. We have our gray blocks we added exactly above where I told you guys to, going along our circle. And now we're going to add a row of half slabs going around this, and we're going to start to develop our curve. Now, one thing I want to tell you guys, that you definitely want to do is bring down a block in the middle, just so you can maintain where your center is going to go. Not necessarily a huge deal on this. It's not hard to figure out, but nonetheless, we still want to do that. And now I'm going to just continue on with our half slabs going around our circle, looking good. All right, and now we're just going to go in one again with our cuts. So I'm not overlapping any of the gray line here, and I'm deleting the access. So this way it's just going along with the cut. This block that I'm adding here, I'm just putting that there so I can add this one there, delete that one, then we'll do another row. Oh, made that a little too thick. What I was going to tell you, but I kind of hesitated on because I didn't think it was necessarily a huge deal for this scale enterprise, but I'll tell you guys anyway. When you start to curve out your bottom part of your saucer, you don't want to start your curve. In other words, building this line, the block down in the center, and making your curve start from the bottom and go up. Because what's going to happen is it'll start to make your circle become triangular. So you want to start that from the top of the hull and work your way down. But on this scale enterprise, we don't have enough rows where it's going to matter. So anyway, after you added in the last row of half slabs in the dead center, we added in a sea lantern. Just to get some light in here. But that looks pretty damn good. And excuse my language. Usually don't like to curse in my videos. Try to keep it as clean as possible, but she looks really good. Man, just the changes that we made, I think that really made the ship come to life and it looks so much better than it did before. And, wow. So, as you guys can see, these are the steps that you can take to bring your enterprise just a little bit more to the next level, especially on this scale. That looks great. All right. So anyway, I think that's going to wrap it up for episode 3 of the Enterprise A refit mock tutorial. Just want to thank you guys again for tuning into today's episode. And if you haven't, please don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button, helping me and supporting the channel. Can't thank you enough for that. And if you have any questions regarding this tutorial, if I wasn't specific enough, drop a comment below. If you have any questions regarding what ships you want to see me build, drop a comment below. And don't forget to tune in tomorrow for the next video. And in fact, you can always catch new Minecraft videos Monday through Saturday. Only day I don't have new episodes coming out is on Sunday, but that is going to conclude the refit mock tutorial series. I wanted to make sure I got that out for you guys, and this was specifically for the people that was asking for it, and I hope that you guys enjoyed it. So I hope everyone has a great day, and I will catch you all in the next one.